their cameras on, it makes it so much better for me. All right, so where we last left off, our Kushite friends, they had ruled Egypt. King Paye said, I am starting the 25th ruling dynasty of Egypt. I am a pharaoh, not just a king, meaning he was the embodiment of a god. And they kept on going with Egyptian culture, and they built so many pyramids and tried to bring back the glory of Egypt. But alas, another group wanted the glory of Egypt, the riches of Egypt, and that was the Assyrians. The Assyrians attacked with their iron weapons and pushed the people of Kush south. So they go south. Napata is destroyed by the Assyrians, so they go past the cataracts, and they make a new capital, Meroe. Now, because Meroe was further south, they were free from the dangers of the Assyrian invasion, because the Assyrians, they didn't care about Kush. Plus, those cataracts made it really inconvenient to go down there, so they wind up going and being able to have their own isolated culture again. And there, while they're near Meroe, they discover rich deposits of iron. They have forests where they can go make charcoal. And they realize, hey, we're right by the Red Sea still. We're by all these trade routes. We can still make plenty of money trading. So it's kind of interesting. You'd think like the golden age of Kush would be when they ruled Egypt. But really, I would say it's more arguable that the golden age of Kush is when they're in Meroe and they no longer are, dealing with Egypt at all. And they're going to trade with tons of people. They're going to trade with Arabs in the Arabian Peninsula. They're going to trade with different African kingdoms. They're even going to trade with Rome. We know they traded with India because, they're so close to the Red Sea. They keep on going all the way over and trade water routes through India. And we think it's even possible they're trading with China. We don't know for certain, but we have good ideas that at least they're getting some Chinese products and probably from India, but they might have been even dealing with Chinese merchants, which is pretty incredible because we think about how long ago this was and how we often think of these civilizations being isolated and just being by themselves, but in reality, they're going and having international trade. It's pretty wild. Pretty wild. So let's continue on. Now, Meroe became an important city for industry, and their industry was iron working. So they were blacksmiths. Blacksmith is someone who works with metal, typically iron, although now steel and stuff like that apply to them, but steel hasn't been invented yet for them. And they make so much with iron. Now, iron is going to be a huge advantage. Now, the Assyrians wielded it for weapons of war. But the truth is, iron is great for not only weapons so that you can conquer your enemies, but it's also good for farming. And you might say, Mr. Kenny, why does that matter? And this right here, you don't actually have to write any of this parts about what they needed for iron. This is just how, we'll talk about that in a minute, but you don't have to write this stuff down. But they made iron weapons and iron farming tools. Now, we talked about something a while ago. It was the Circle of Awesome. Does anyone remember what the Circle of Awesome, what the deal was with our Circle of Awesome? Oh my goodness, the shame. Well, we're going to go over the Circle of Awesome a lot this year, so I hope that we'll have it all. So I'm going to go have this circle right here, drawn to perfection. Yes, Kirthana?
For the circle.
My circle disappeared.
I found my notes here.
Yeah?
Yeah, more food.
Yes. More food. I'm sorry, then what?
More food to more people, to more smart people, to more inventing. And then back
Exactly.
to movement.
Perfect. More food, more people, more smart people. Like you guys, that's right. Like the Ivans and the Evelyns, the Kadirs, the Zoes, the Dannys, the Shanias, the Alexanders, the everyone's in this class, the smart people. And then, of course, more inventions. And so this is our circle of awesome. And see, this is why going and having iron farm tools is going to be so important. Make that thicker. Because you get more food with iron tools. You're like, Mr. Kenny, why do you get more food? Well, because if you have a bronze plow, it's not going to cut through the ground as fast. If you hit a rock, it might break. Whereas if you have an iron plow, it'll cut through faster. It will break less. So you're able to produce more food more quickly, which gives you, of course, more people, because people don't starve to death. People are better nutrition. Typically, people that eat more are able to have more kids, so their population rises. And of course, we know the percentages that you will have those geniuses, those, you know, Jason Jacksons who are just completely wise that go wind up discovering something else. And then that, of course, often leads to more food. And as I was saying, Kush was just the perfect location south of Moreau, or excuse me, around Moreau, to be able to do this because they have tons of iron there. And to make iron, you need lots of wood. And it's actually going to wind up becoming part of the problem is they're eventually going to cut down too many of their trees to make charcoal because they're so addicted to making iron. But yeah, charcoal, just like you use on your grill, that's what they would use to help make iron. Remember, you have to know your circle of awesome. Have to know it. It is muy importante. All right. Now, we are going to stop there, my cherubs. We're going to stop there, my cherubs. So I'm going to end the recording. Do we have any